everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Midweek with Indiacharts. I'm your host, Muskan Kapoor, and I'm joined here with Jay Bora. We're going to discuss how the market looks like and how it is ought to look like in the future as well. So, without any further ado, I will just start with the questions. So, today is the Fed meet. I have a question related to that first. So, I want to understand how things are shaping up in the banking sector and how the Fed might react to this. And are we going to see some more rate hikes today?
Okay, so yeah, in last 1 2 weeks, there has been a lot of action in the banking sector in US. With the
Correct.
collapse of SVB Bank, that is the Silicon Valley Bank. Then
Hmm.
furthermore casualties have been there, and latest I think First Republic is in a lot of news, and it has collapsed.
Hmm.
Typically, the small banks are not insured, or you can say that if the people lose money over there, then I think they are not insured. So I think just to make sure that there is no cascading impact, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, she had come today, and she said that we are there to safeguard the depositors even in the small banks, and we'll make sure that none of the savings or the money which are held in the small banks will go burst. So that was a good reassurance, because what
Correct.
happens is that there can be a cascading impact. Now
Hmm.
one needs to understand that this time the crisis was more due to the sharp rate hike by the Fed.
Hmm.
Okay, so what has led was that a lot of bond portfolios got hit badly. Okay, now when that happens and they are in requirement of money, they have to sell it at the loss, and they have to recover back the money to match the deposits or outflow, whatever it is. Okay, so due to which sometimes what happens is that now, because they have taken a loss, okay, now they have to raise capital. And when the environment is such, raising capital becomes an issue. Okay, and that is where then that asset liability mismatch can happen, and that can get the banks into trouble. So right now, there is some need for the government officials to come and step in and give confidence to the depositors, so that there is no cascading impact. Okay, that is what seems to be happening. And in that overall context, if we see the Fed is the Fed outcome is there today. So earlier, if these things were not, if they were not going to play out, then typically people would have expected a 50 bips rate hike. Okay, then there was a debate between 25 and 50, but many of the people were thinking of 50 bips. But now with this situation, actually, people are thinking that either there will be no rate hike or there will be 25 bips, and probably we are getting end towards that zone. Okay, and maybe further rate hikes may not be possible. So I think the forward guidance from Jerome Powell would be very important, because until now, they were unwinding their balance sheet and all. But with this, they have flushed the system again with liquidity. So I think $300 billion was put in the last 1 week to save the banks from the situation where it was. So in that sense, the commentary will be very important as to how they are thinking about it, and that is, I think, going to give further cues as to how their policy is going to shape up. But largely, it looks like either no rate hike or a 25 basis point hike at the max.
Correct. Makes sense. We're all looking forward to see where the rate hike structure goes forward from here. Anyway, moving on, I wanted to understand the setup of the dollar index. While doing the same, in India, there's been a lot of noise as concerned with gold because it has hit an all-time high. So, what is the situation of gold and silver also in India?
So it is actually not a concern for Indians, because Indians are always loaded up with gold.
Correct.
So that is a good news for them. But
Hmm,
the people who don't have, there is definitely a FOMO amongst them. So,
definitely.
and in fact, I get sometimes calls as well as to people who are getting married कि अभी सोना अभी लेना चाहिए थोड़ी देर और रुके. So
Yeah.
so yes, I mean, I can sense that. I mean, I literally do get calls for the same. So, having said that, the
Mm.
setup of the dollar index, I mean, that is at a very crucial juncture. So I'll quickly share the screen.
Mm.
If you see the dollar index, I mean, after this decline, there has been barely a 38.2% retracement so far. Okay. So ideally, you would expect a 50% or a 61.8% retracement as well in the
Correct.
best case scenario.
Mm.
So, that has not come by. But when you see the weekly chart, you also see that the dollar index is resisting at the 20-week average and it is falling down. Okay. So this could be telling us that the strength of the downtrend could be strong. That is why, it is not retracing much. And even with a small bounce, again, the sellers have come back. But, when you dissect that and you go to the daily chart and you see the Fibonacci retracement, so it is now actually coming towards the 61.8% retracement mark of the recent rise. Okay. Now, this is, I think, a very crucial point, which is somewhere around 102.75. And right now it is at 103.06. So this is an important level. And, it would be important to see basically what dollar index does over here. Because if the 61.8% retracement mark is broken on a closing basis, okay, and we have this setup wherein the 20-week average is not being taken out, then case of a next leg of decline can open up, okay, which will actually be very positive for equities that we had discussed last week. In fact, the other biggest beneficiaries are gold and silver. Okay,
Correct.
so if you see the chart of gold and silver, but I'll open it in trading view because we have the RMI setup over there. So if I open the chart of gold, okay, what has happened is that in the last week, there has been a big up move and the swing high was broken. Okay, now this is telling us that maybe the next leg of up move has started. Okay, which means that this rise was wave one, this is wave two, and now wave three has already started. Okay, this is what the chart is telling us. And when you see the monthly RMI, okay, this has given a bullish crossover. Okay, and I'll show you one more interesting thing. If we go to the quarterly chart, okay, wait, let me hide the drawings. So if we go over there, so over here, see what is happening is that the RMI is in sell mode, but whenever the averages are held, okay, there is a good chance that the RMI can whipsaw. Okay, you can see over here that there was some whipsaw. So that can definitely happen. But whenever the trends are strong, typically you would see that the averages are not broken. Okay, and especially the 20 average of whatever period it is. So in this case, if you see, it is a 20 quarter average. So this multi-month correction, it halted at the 20 quarter average. Okay, and the gold is now trying to make a comeback. So this is, according to me, very positive. And even in terms of chart patterns, if you see, there is a cup and handle pattern which is being formed. Okay, so I think the breakout level is somewhere around 2070, which is the previous high. So the previous high is 2075. Okay, so I think once this all-time high is taken out, you can expect a big up move, because even if we go by the equality level of the previous move, okay, so it was over here. So I think the equality level comes to around 2891. Okay, so I mean, right now, if you see, it is $1942, and in dollar terms, basically 2890 will become the upside level. Now, add to that, if the currency also depreciates for Indian, I mean, if the Indian rupee depreciates, then there can be furthermore positive impact on gold. Okay. So that said, the chart of gold is very interesting, and so is the chart of silver. Because when you look at the silver chart, so over here as well, it is the same thing. I mean, the 20 quarter average and the 40 exponential quarter average, that is being held. Okay. And now the silver is trying to move above that. But when we dissect that and we go on a lower time frame, then, you will see that silver is right now around the 61.8% retracement mark, okay, which is around this 20 to 85. I think once that is taken out, it will be furthermore positive for silver, and you can expect a good up move over there as well. Now, not many people know this, but when they see the silver chart for last probably 20, 30 or 40 years, but I can show you if there is history over here. Yeah. So, what we are seeing on gold. Okay, wait. I'll again open the chart of gold. And what we are seeing on gold on the monthly chart, okay, that is sort of visible. I mean, that similar pattern is visible in silver as well. Can you see this? This is cup, this is handle. And then it is trying to move higher, right?
Correct.
Now, if you see for silver specifically, okay, the same pattern which has been forming for last 40 years. Now, people would not know, but I mean, people would obviously know the longer it takes for the commodity or the stock to break out, the more effective those breakouts are, and the more furious the move will be. Okay. So that is the pattern. So I think this 1980 high is somewhere around $50. So it is still 50% below that. Okay. So basically, from current levels, if you see, there is even at 100% upside, it will not go above the 1980 high. Okay. So that is, I think, one more opportunity which I can find wherein the setup is actually looking very good. Okay. So yes, so silver is one such commodity which can be looked at, because the setup is very appealing, and gold obviously is leading, but at some point of time, I think silver is also going to catch up. Okay, and that would be something very interesting to watch out for in the coming sessions. And add to that, whenever the interest rate hikes are there, okay, typically gold and silver underperforms, and that is what is happening right now. Okay. Now, the moment the rate hike stops, and in fact, if there is a rate cut, which I think many of the people are anticipating that by July, August, or by the year end, we can actually see rate cuts happening. Because people are expecting that there will be a slowdown, then Fed will come and they'll boost the market by cutting the rates. So if that happens, that environment specifically is very good for gold and silver. Okay, because then what happens is that the opportunity cost is lesser. Okay, and that is where people then tend to bet more. So that is where things get favorable for gold and silver. So if you see overall, the environment is conducive for gold and silver to rally. It is just that some levels need to be broken. I think from a medium to long term perspective, I would expect that this level, once it gets broken, I think that is where the momentum will pick up for silver. And that level, I think, is somewhere around 24.75. And for gold, as I highlighted, that 2075, that is the dollar term level. I think once we see a closing above that, the rally can fuel up in gold and silver.
Got it. So, question regarding from your relative perspective, gold खरीदने का, नहीं खरीदने का, wait करने का, और थोड़ा wait करके देखने का.
We don't give investment advice. But
I know, I am just kidding. Yes.
It says that the setup is so appealing that it is noteworthy to highlight.
Correct. True. Anyway, moving to the FIIs, We spoke about them in our last session as well. They have been shorting the index funds, and we have been looking at that. And now the figure in the net short in the index futures has also hit a all-time high. So there's an
Right.
all-time high in the index future net as well. And we have been looking at this setup for quite some time. What is it? How are you reading this entire thing?
Yeah. So typically, what used to happen was that whenever the FI mark, wait, let me clear the drawing. Yeah. So
Hmm.
whenever the FIIs used to come to the net shorting level of say somewhere around 120 or 130 zone, I mean 1,30,000 zone. So that is where we had seen the markets bottoming out, and followed by that we had seen a rally. But this time around, the shorts have been there for a long time. Okay, so this was explicitly mentioned that this is one period where the shorts have prevailed. Okay, and we have seen a downtrend in the market. But now there are two ways to look at it. Okay, कि इतना short करने के बाद भी market has not even broken the previous low. Okay, wherein the shorts were over here. So even that is not broken. Or the other way to look at it is कि इनको कुछ तो पता है and that is why they are short. Okay. Now, how do we read it? I don't know. I mean, it frankly, depends on the bias which the person has. Because like I said, कि जो bull रहेगा वो ये सोचेगा कि इतना short करके भी they have not managed to break the Nifty significantly. But at the same time, the bears will say that they might be knowing something. That is why they are shorting like crazy. Okay. Now, how do we confirm? So at this point of time, if I go purely by the setup, okay, then you can see that since last 3 days, FIs were shorting, okay, but the market is not going down. So now at some point of time when the market rallies, so there can be an issue for the FIs, okay, because then their positions may turn in losses and they might be forced to cover that. So when I draw a trend line, so actually this level is what I was watching out very closely, because if you see
Hmm.
in the near term, what happens is that this was the support line, okay, which got broken, and you can see somewhat resistance were faced over here, and there was some selling pressure witnessed. In fact, today's data is not uploaded, but again we tested that and we failed to cross above that. So I think this level is somewhere around 17,175 to 17,180. I think once this level is taken out, the bulls will have a firmer grip, I think. Okay, because we are bouncing back from this lower end of the channel, and it was highlighted earlier as well that it is the 50% retracement mark of the rise. Okay, and one more interesting thing is that, I mean, this is not something which I've discussed so far, but
Hmm.
if we see the monthly close, so as of now, it is telling us that a 20-month average can break. Okay.
Correct.
But by the month end, if at all we see a recovery, and if at all
Hmm.
we close above 341, which is the 20-month average,
Correct.
we might end up seeing a positive close, positive monthly close. And if you
Hmm.
remember, we had said earlier as well that in the history, hardly you have seen 4 consecutive months of
Yes.
selling. Okay, so even that would then, that thing would then be intact. So we need to see how do we get the monthly close. But I
Hmm.
think, seeing the way things are, and if we continue to get a pullback, then we might
Hmm.
as we might well close in green as well for this month.
Correct.
And if that
Hmm.
happens, then at least we would get a working level to to say that some kind of base is being formed at the
Hmm.
low. Okay,
Correct.
and we will basically have a reference level then.
Hmm.
So that is how the setup is. And I think when I try to combine it with many other things, okay, so wait, I'll
Hmm.
just quickly show you the file.
Hmm.
So I actually update this file every day. So what has happened is
Okay.
that, see, this is the net short.
Hmm.
Okay. This column which you see is basically net short, including calls and puts. Okay.
Got it.
So this basically means that कि जो भी call buy है and put short है, that is taken as a bullish position, and जो put buy है on and call short है, that is taken as a bearish position. So when we net off that, okay, this position which we have seen, that is of 5 lakh, this again is a record low. Okay. So COVID में भी इतना लो नहीं था. So I think COVID में it was somewhere around 4,50,000 or so, or somewhere around 4 lakh to 4,50,000 contract. Again, this is a record low. Okay, and despite of that, markets are not falling. And so yesterday what had happened was कि futures में इतना कुछ activity नहीं था, but when you see on the options, there has been some covering over there. Okay, so that is where I think if the Nifty breaks above this 17,175 to 17,180 level on a closing basis and it starts sustaining above that, that is where I think we can expect some bullish momentum in the near term, and that will have a rub-off effect on almost everything, like the bank Nifty, small cap, mid cap, everything, because we have been discussing this with our subscriber as well, that how small and mid caps are at a very crucial juncture, and so is the Nifty index. Okay, so and Nifty index is giving us that early sign of a reversal. So we need to see how things play out today. I don't know, frankly, many people are saying कि ये Fed outcome है, कुछ भी हो जाएगा, we can see a sharp fall, etc. I don't know, to be very honest, if I have to trust the chart, all I'm looking out for is this trend line to be crossed on a closing basis. And if we sustain above that, I think irrespective of what Fed does, we can see a good move in the near term. And ultimately, the shorts which are there, this has to be covered. Okay. And that is where that is what the bet is. And also there is one more data point which I want to show. So this is something we are actually trying to build in our analytical tool as well.
Okay.
So that is the open interest for the bank Nifty. Okay. So if I go and if I do the open interest of bank Nifty, so you can see over here that it is at the record high in this last 18 months or so. Okay. And typically whenever you have seen such sort of high open interest, an opposite trend has happened. So let us look. I mean, this was, I think, around the Feb-March period, okay, when the Russia war broke out. So if we see Bank Nifty, so if we see Bank Nifty index, then somewhere Russia, so somewhere over here, the open interest had become very high. Okay, eventually what we saw was a consolidation and then a move towards a new high. Okay, so the point being that कि ये जो भी shorts है, I mean ये जो भी open interest built up है, that has happened in the bank Nifty, that I think is short because the bank Nifty has fallen and the open interest has gone up. Okay, so that means that shorts are there in the system. I think there might, I mean, if at all there is some positive trigger or something, there could be a good short covering rally that can follow. That is something which even the FI data is indicating us. And when I see the open interest of Bank Nifty specifically, so for Nifty, it is not that much, but for Bank Nifty, it is significant. I mean, I have never seen this kind of open interest ever since I have been updating this data. So let's see how things unfold, but very hopeful of a near to medium term move on the upside.
Correct.
Okay, and specifically, like I mentioned, 17,175 to 17,180, that is the immediate resistance which I'm looking at. I think once the Nifty sustains above that, we can expect a bullish momentum to continue in the short term.
True. Yes, so we're going to look at today's Fed meet and see how that's going to react. We're also going to keep an eye on the dollar to see how the prices of gold or silver might go up or down. and also hoping for a monthly close. If that happens, then thank you,
Yeah,
Bhagwan
so
ji.
that
But
we'll know by the month end. But
correct,
yes,
correct. But yes, thank you so much for this session. It was really, really helpful. Thank you so much.
thank you.